What's going on, everybody? This is Temperature Check. I am your host, as always, man. Mr. Check the Temperature. How y'all doing? Before we get started with today's content, I must do what I always do anytime you see me on your screen, and that's thank you guys for the likes, comments, shares, most importantly, those subscriptions. So whether you be a day one fan or somebody who just started rocking with the channel today, I greatly appreciate it. And if you loving what I got going on my YouTube and you want to see more of me, hit me up on my social medias. You follow me, I follow you. That's how this is going to work. So find me on Twitter, Mr. Temp Check. Hit me up on Instagram, Mr. Check the Temperature. But before we get started off in today's content, man, I got to thank y'all each and every time for the love and support. Make sure you liking, comment, and subscribing to the channel. Also sharing out the broadcast, man. You know what the goal is. We're not even going to talk about it anymore because it's been a lot of hate. You know, a little bit of hate, but it's all good, man. But let's talk some sports. Baltimore Ravens fans, why y'all so mad at me? Why y'all mad at Mr. Check the Temperature? Only because I asked a question that you didn't think would be asked, and you don't think that it's being asked behind closed doors? Well, let me bring it to your attention once again. Yes, Lamar Jackson should be traded for DeShaun Watson. I said it and I'm standing on it. But I appreciate all the likes and the comments, even the dislikes. I appreciate them as well. But we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this topic and why I believe that DeShaun Watson would be the better quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. And we're also going to address some of the more popular and more colorful commentary that I received in my comment section. But I appreciate it all, man. The dislikes, the negative, the trolling, it don't affect me. I promise you it don't. But let's get right off into it. So one of the statements that was made in reference to obtaining and acquiring DeShaun Watson was our offensive line play this year and how we dealt with a lot of injuries. Well, my friends, why do you think we deal with a lot of injuries on the offensive line front? Do you think that it's because we pull and we trap and we make our offensive line be lead blockers 10 to 12 yards downfield on a regular basis? Which, if they're running east and west instead of north and south, is definitely going to leave them more susceptible to injuries. And especially as you get further downfield. Why? Because the football players start to change. Those defensive linemen that are used to that contact, that initial contact, you get into the second level, you're seeing linebackers and you're seeing safeties and corners. So as a former corner who played in college, who played a little bit of arena football, I'll tell you, when I see a 330-pound offensive lineman running at me, I'm going to make a business decision. And what is that business decision? I'm going to blow his kneecaps off of his leg. That's right. I'm sticking my helmet directly into his kneecap, and we're going to see what happens. So, yes, you're right. Our offensive line is banged up. Guess what? They're going to continue to be banged up because of the type of offense that we run. Yes, is it true that offensive linemen would rather run block than pass block? Absolutely. However, when you're being pulled 15 to 20 times a game, when you're being asked to get out and block that corner, block that outside linebacker, that safety coming downhill, it takes a toll. And sometimes the worst hits are not the ones you see coming at you, it's the ones you don't. And definitely in the open field as an offensive lineman, you're going to be more susceptible to injuries. But hold on, everybody. We said that Lamar doesn't have weapons. Lamar doesn't have weapons anymore. How come he doesn't have weapons? How come Greg Roman is now running a high school offense from what I hear? I'm confused by that. Last year when Lamar threw for 36 touchdowns and won MVP, he had all the weapons. He had all the tight ends. He had all the receivers he needed. A year later, you're telling me we should fire Greg Roman and that he needs more weapons. Don't change the goalpost based upon the conversation. If he won MVP last year, which is what you guys hang your hats on, he won MVP last year. Why couldn't he take a step forward in a passing game this year? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Oh, okay. Again, I'm all about, hey, I love to debate, but don't switch the goalpost out for a smaller goalpost because it'll help your argument. That's not going to work. Next, We're saying one of the more ridiculous comments that I got that became very frequent. Well, Lamar Jackson is younger than DeShaun Watson. Really? That's what you hanging your hat on. He is younger than DeShaun Watson by a year and 100 days. So please stop that. Let's just cut that narrative out. They basically the same age. And yes, DeShaun Watson did tear his ACL when he was in college. But has it slowed him down since he got to the NFL? I don't think so. But let's look at something more tangible. Let's look at something you guys can really sink your teeth in and really be pissed off at. Let's talk about the numbers. And I'm only going to do the 2019 and 2020 season. Why? Because those are the two seasons that Lamar Jackson has under his belt that he's played the entire season as a starter. It wouldn't be fair to just compare his numbers to DeShaun numbers based upon that. Although we could, though, I'm not about to do that. So if we are looking at his MVP year, Lamar Jackson in 2019 was not only a Pro Bowler, he was first team All-Pro. So, you know what I'm saying? Great individual stats. Again, 3,100 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, with a QBR of 83. Again, very comparable numbers. He won MVP. I make no arguments for that. However, in 2020, with the same offense, give or take a couple weapons, but pretty much the same offense. Swap out Mark Andrews, insert J.K. Dobbins. Yes, we might have lost a tight end to a trade, but we still had our target tight ends. So this year, 2,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And yes, he did win a playoff game. But my question to you is, why do his 3 playoff losses all look the exact same? They all look the exact same. Keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket, play zone defense, make him have to make a decision. Make him make the right play every play. And he's going to get frustrated and he's going to throw us an interception. I'm just saying. But let's go to DeShaun Watson's numbers. And again, we're only going to look at the 2019 and 2020 seasons. If you want to know what I'm referencing, this is profootballreference.com, so you can fact check me. So, in DeShaun Watson's 2019 campaign, he threw for over 3,800 yards with 26 touchdowns and the highest interception total of his career at 12. Now, mind you, again, Lamar Jackson's MVP year, he rushed for 1,200 yards. So, if you do the math on that, 31 plus the 12 gives you 4,300 yards. Roughly 4,300 yards all-purpose for Lamar. Well, I'll be dang if you add the rushing yards of DeShaun Watson, who obviously is not a prominent runner as Lamar Jackson, but a very comparable runner, just over 400 yards. So he has 4,200 yards all-purpose. So there's a comparison there. You got, 10 less touchdowns by DeShaun in the 2019 campaign with, 6 more interceptions. Okay, that's cool. But again, that was his worst year with interceptions. We go to 2020. We already know Lamar threw for 2,700 yards, just over 1,000 yards rushing, 3,700 all-purpose yards if you're staying with me, with 26 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Again, not a bad year, but again, when we look at DeShaun Watson and y'all want to talk about this 4-12 record that the Houston Texans had, it wasn't DeShaun's fault that they had a 4-12 record. Why do you say that? Well, this is why I say that. Because in 2020, DeShaun threw for over 4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Can I interest you in that? We just shy of 450 yards rushing on the year. So roughly over 5,200 yards all-purpose in the year that you guys said the Houston Texans were sorry. Then you guys, again, want to talk about his weapons. Well, he didn't have D-Hop last year. Kenny Stills in and out the lineup because of injuries. Will Fuller in and out the lineup because of injuries. Nobody was consistent except for DeShaun Watson. So, the number one question that I have asked you guys that no one has yet to step out on faith and say, yes, I can. Yes, we will. Very simply put, are you willing to invest $40+ million into Lamar Jackson for the next 4 years? Well, how do you know he's going to get $40 million? Because that's the going rate for a starting former MVP quarterback in the NFL. Oh, you don't believe me? Don't worry. You can go to overthecap.com and they have the breakdowns of top quarterback salary in the NFL. So, we're talking about a contract that would start in the 2022 season. Let me read you right now who is slated to be top 3 quarterbacks, highest paid quarterbacks going into the 22 football season. Kirk Cousins at $45 million a year. Matt Ryan, $41.6 million a year. And the person that I'm trying to get to Baltimore, who you guys say we can't afford, is $40.6. But you guys say that Lamar is better than DeShaun. So if that's the case, you can't pay Lamar Jackson under what DeShaun Watson makes, correct? Because he's won 2 division titles and he's won an MVP and he's won a playoff game, correct? So again, you're going to be looking at paying Lamar Jackson $40+ million a year. Oh, you don't believe me? You still think I got you. If you go again, let's reference. What are we gonna reference with this one? Oh, we're still here. ProFootballNetwork.com. And the article is calculating Lamar Jackson's next contract with the Baltimore Ravens. Do you know they have it projected at $43.5 million a year over 4 years? So roughly his contract is going to be for 4 years, $212.5 million. Again, are you willing to invest in a quarterback that hasn't proven himself to accurately throw the deep ball on a consistent basis? Yes, I understand that he's an electric player. No, this is not me hating on Lamar. I actually like Lamar. But again, we're getting ready to re-sign him to a long-term deal. Don't you think we should exhaust all possible scenarios? DeShaun Watson is already under contract. We already know where DeShaun Watson's contract is going to max out at. He's going to be in the low 40, 41, $42 million tops. But again, 43.5 is projected for Lamar Jackson. He's not taking a home discount. You do realize that, right? Because he's barely getting paid right now on his rookie deal. And he's far exceeded his rookie deal. So are you willing to invest $43.5 million into Lamar Jackson? Now, so when I say trade Lamar Jackson away, look at the most recent trade. So to talk about the Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff trade, the LA Rams traded Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions for Matthew Stafford. Do you know what they gave up? They gave up 2 first rounds and a 3rd round, plus they sent Jared Goff to the Lions. So you telling me that that's the going rate for Matthew Stafford? And I know what Houston's talking about multiple first-round picks, 2 third-round picks, and they want defensive players. But you telling me I can't interest you in an MVP on his rookie deal and a 1st and a 2nd round draft pick? That doesn't interest you, Houston? Houston, you need a star. You need someone to build around. Somebody got to lead that team next year. Why not? Why not pull it off? And I'm going to be honest real quick. That Matthew Stafford to LA Rams, Yes, it's cool. Does it make them better? No. Here's why it briefly doesn't make them better. Because the LA Rams have essentially turned their roster into a basketball team. What do I mean by that? It's very comparable to the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets have a lot of they have a star power in their starting lineup, but they don't have a bench or role players. They have no one outside of their starting five. So, the LA Rams pretty much did the same thing. They're in this win now mentality, but their problem is they've locked up $140 million of the salary cap in the 6 players. They have to fill a 53-man roster. So if 6 takes the 140, that leaves you 40 for 47. Explain to me how you're supposed to build a sustainable and a suitable and competitive NFL football team with $40 million. I'll wait, LA Rams. Terrible. But let's get back to the subject. So my question, again, when we're talking about Lamar versus DeShaun, why isn't the DeShaun and Lamar compatible trade? Because for Houston, you're getting a quarterback on his last year of his rookie deal, so you can re-sign him at whatever price point you want to make it. Well, he's a former MVP. He's won a playoff game. He's won 2 division titles. But the price tag that comes with him right now, for what I see, is too far. Now, you can sit here and tell me about Lamar's accuracy. Yes, his accuracy is very high. I think he threw for over 70% in the first playoff game against the Tennessee Titans this year. However, what else was apparent? The lack of deep balls being thrown by the Baltimore Ravens. And let's be honest, we really haven't had that big-time receiver since Steve Smith. But even Steve Smith, we got him on the backside of his prime. So if you really want to date it, you're probably looking at Jacoby Jones and Anquan Bolden our Super Bowl year in 2012. I'm just saying. So the one question that I have to end this whole conversation, again, if we re-sign Lamar, we stay Lamar, I'm cool. This is not to hate on Lamar. This is just being objective and trying to make the Baltimore Ravens the best team we possibly can going into next year. Are you willing to invest, as it stands right now, $43 million a year into Lamar Jackson? This is Temperature Check. I am your host, as always, man, Mr. Check the Temperature. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Be on the lookout for the apparel. And like always, we just getting started.